With me, never. On Thursday at 9:18 a.m. Alex Spears, for a terrible reason, just a terribly awful reason. Chet Holmgren. I'm just gonna read it. There was a release sent by the Thunder this morning. First, it was reported yesterday by Shams Charania, and then released by the Thunder this morning, that Oklahoma City Thunder have announced today that, this is interesting, forward Chet Holmgren has sustained a Lisfranc injury. Sorry, I'm getting all choked up. This is terrible. To his right foot. Holmgren will miss the 2022-23 season. Further updates will be provided when appropriate. And then Sam Presti released a statement. Certainly, we are disappointed for Chet, especially given the excitement he had about getting on the floor with his teammates this season. We know Chet has a long career ahead of him within our organization and the Oklahoma City community. One of the things that most impressed us during the process of selecting Chet was his determination and focus. We expect that same tenacity will carry him through this period of time as we work together and support him during his rehabilitation. I'm not here. I think a lot of people expect me to want to talk about tanking or whatever. I honestly don't think that this impacts the Thunder greatly. When it comes to tanking, I think we're going to be a bad team anyways. So this honestly just super sucks.
Yeah, and it sucks for a bunch of reasons. If this had happened during an NBA game, you're obviously it sucks too, but you're okay, this stuff happens.
It's a part of his job. He had to play.
The fact that it happened at a exhibition game in Seattle on a court that was eventually deemed to be unsafe to play on by the second quarter.
Yeah.
That's the killer. And I'm not going to Zapruder the film to figure out if the court influenced the way he planted his foot, because the footage is admittedly very grainy.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Yeah.
You can't tell how that impacted his ability to then push off. It's just the whole situation sucks.
It does.
Because you can't completely rule it out. Whereas you would feel more comfortable ruling that out if it was in an NBA game where they got, the guys with the mops coming out all the time.
Right.
It's just devastating. And the fact that it's a Lisfranc injury super sucks. I mean, I'm sure people have Googled other examples. And the thing you'll figure out is that this does not happen a lot to basketball players.
Yeah.
The obvious example is Udonis Haslem. If you Google Lisfranc NBA, that's going to be the example that comes up, which was way back in the early Heedle days.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's about it. Where this mainly happens is in soccer and football, and it's highly variable in terms of the effects it has on guys' career. Just some examples: Julio Jones and Brian Westbrook. Brian Westbrook, one of my favorite players from the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
They both suffered Lisfranc injuries, came back and had career years. Had played a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's guys like Maurice Jones-Drew, Santonio Holmes, Cedric Benson, Ronnie Brown, Darren McFadden. These are all guys who had Lisfranc injuries and came back and saw a precipitous decline, and then eventually retired within a year or two.
Were there anything to do with age with those players in particular that you can remember?
It's possible. I would have to look these up because all I have right now are the years that they got injured.
Yeah.
The other thing is we don't know the severity. I mean, the fact that he's out for a year kind of gives us a hint to the severity, because
it doesn't. Because
possibly, yeah.
The Thunder were going to be cautious with this no matter what. This is their number 2 pick in a season where they are still in discovery mode. They're not going to throw him out there when he's 90% ready, or even right after he gets ready. They were, even if he was, maybe the timeline is March. They're not going to play him in March, So there's just so much that we still don't know. The diagnosis of Lisfranc injury is extremely vague. It could mean
because you
broken
read
foot.
The treatments for it, and it's everything from wearing a walking boot for 4 weeks to having surgery and having 5 month or 6 to 8 month rehabilitation and recovery.
Yeah.
The only thing that we do know, though, is that in all the initial reports from Shams, he said that there was fear of torn ligaments as opposed to, something a little bit more mild. Although torn actually doesn't even tell you that much because you can have like a mild tear. So we really know nothing, and I don't anticipate that we're going to get further details. I mean, maybe Presti's going to talk here shortly, so maybe he'll give.
Yeah, we're talking to Sam in 7 minutes, so this is going to be a really short podcast. We just wanted to make sure we got something out for you guys quickly.
Yeah, so maybe he gives more details, and we'll have a better idea of like how serious this is. Obviously, foot injury for any basketball player is a huge concern.
Yeah,
foot injury for a 7-foot center. There's obviously a lot of examples throughout history that will get you upset. There's also examples of guys like Joel Embiid coming back and playing at MVP levels.
Yeah,
totally different injuries, but like it just sucks. This is like the worst case scenario. Like if he breaks his hand, it's like whatever.
Right.
Not worried about it.
Yeah.
Breaking his foot, now I'm worried.
It's concerning. I think if you're not concerned, you're not paying attention. And again, we don't know, and we won't know anything for a while on what his recovery looks like, which is also like a huge bummer when it comes to this injury. As far as like how it affects the Oklahoma City Thunder this season, I think there's a chance that there are a couple games worse without him. I'm not sure.
I think a lot of minutes just opened up.
We're
probably gonna get to see some Poku center experiment minutes more. Yeah.
I wonder if they keep Derek Favors now just because they need a big
have a body,
and because he has a $10 million contract that can be traded. If you need to trade $10 million, it's pretty easily there. I do think that there's a chance he stays now. I didn't
thinking. This sucks so bad.
Yeah,
like just thinking about how Chet was going to help SGA's game by having another person on the court who could legitimately stretch the floor.
Spacer vertically and make the floor a little bigger for him. Yeah, it's a huge bummer that this happened. There's not really any way to sugarcoat this. You can say that like, oh, this is going to help them, get the first pick in next year's draft. Like, I don't know. Like, I think that they're going to be. I always thought they were in like the 25 to 28 win range. I still think they're in that same range. Maybe they fall toward the bottom of that, and maybe they have like the third worst record in the league now, which will help in a good draft. But also, like, you just want to see your guys play. Like you just want to see Chet play.
We're entering year 3, and we're going into this season as if we had been the play-in team that everyone wants us to be, like because we had like the 11th and 12th pick or whatever it was that we traded for. Like that, this is what that scenario would look like if the team had been in the play-in and we had gotten like 2 late lottery picks or something.
Yeah,
this is what that would have looked like, and it's fine, but it's not why I watched all that terrible basketball.
Yeah, you do. I think it gets a little lost that we do get to see like a lot of Jalen Williams this year. Like we probably will see a lot of Jang this year, which will still be fun. Like I think this team will still be fun. But the thing is, and I saw this at Summer League, is that Chet is just different. Like he's just an experience unto himself. Until I miss that for an entire season, it super sucks.
And also, like we're talking about the SGA Giddey pairing. Like I actually really felt like Chet was going to help that pairing.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's an ultimate, like he's a great complementary player. And it really stinks that you don't get that. Yeah.
Sucks so bad.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, there's not any like great silver linings here. I wish there was, So there was this video posted by Brian Sutterer. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did.
So if you haven't seen it, he's this doctor that put the Chet video out there. It's like, I think it's pretty good. I think it's quite accurate as to like what happened and how it happened. And to me, it doesn't necessarily look like it was like a slip on the floor. It just was like the angle in which his foot was, like he was exploding off of his right foot. Um, so, but yeah,
But even that, the fact that these injuries are so rare
yeah,
in the NBA, I just like want to know more. Like why? What was the environment that like allowed this? Obviously, it happened before. Udonis Haslem I mentioned, but
mm-hmm.
because remember that somebody had sent it to me yesterday when the news of the injury first came out.
Mm-hmm.
Rereading the Sports Illustrated article, shout out to Austin Miles who sent it to me,
Mm-hmm.
about how Chet's biomechanics put him in the lowest risk category for injury.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't an injury prone guy,
Right,
at any point during his previous
Right.
NBA career.
Right. Yeah.
Never had any major injuries that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm. I think some good factors for him is how young he is. I think helps. Younger guys can recover from stuff like this, but it's still it's hard to sugarcoat it. It's hard to make anybody feel. There's no way to feel like really good about this.
Like I'm not ready to dive into next year's draft. Honestly, like I don't even care right now.
Well, yeah, I understand.
Because it's so exhausting. We just did like months of that, like interviewing all those people, hours and hours and hours.
But the thing is, we were going to do it again. Like it was going to happen.
I know, but it wasn't like this. This feels like the entire focus of the season is back on the draft again.
Yeah, it does, and I think it will be, man. I mean, it's a huge bummer because the first part of this season, whether or not they won very many games, they weren't going to win a lot of games, but it was still going to be exciting to see like the baby version, the infancy of this team, with its theoretical core, like start to play together.